Hi, so this is an exercise in barring on classical guitar. So how to do a bar and how to learn to relax and whatnot. And as an example, I'm using number 16 from my ebook, 20 Favorite Exercises, which you can get from thisisclassicalguitar.com. And it comes with notation, tab, and fingering, and tips, and text, and all that stuff that you need. So, one main issue for most people, I think, is a tension issue with the right hand when it comes to bars. They try to compensate for a lack of accuracy with more and more tension. So I often see people cramming fingers on top of themselves, or one of the strings is buzzing, so they think they have to push harder. Let's just go through and talk about that a little bit and discover what we need to do. First, let me actually just walk through the exercise and show it to you. And then we'll talk about how to think about barring and how to conceptualize it and how to relieve pressure and tension and to do it successfully. Also to make sure it's not buzzing and stuff like that. So the exercise is essentially you lay your bar down, but you're not going to apply pressure to the whole thing. You're just going to apply pressure to the one string that you're playing on. So the first part is the 6th string, and then the 4th string, and then the 5th string, then the 3rd string, then the 4th string, 2nd string, 3rd string, 1st string. So you could just go through the exercise one string at a time if it's easier for you to remember. I just like the idea of switching strings every once in a while so you don't keep the tension all in one area of the finger. So when you're conceptualizing barring, first thing, it's just like when you're playing. If you're not close to the fret, it's going to buzz. So you want to be right snug up to the fret. Now, if you're looking at the camera, if you're looking through the camera, it probably looks like I'm covering that fret up. But actually, if you really look underneath, I don't know if you can see it through that angle on the camera, but although my flesh is kind of overshadowing the fret, it's actually just tucked up next to it. So you have to be right snug up to the fret. You should feel the fret there. If you're not close enough, you're not going to be close to the fret, and then just like playing, it's going to buzz. So it has to be really close. And it has to be close on all of them. Not just here, not just down here, but all the way across. So that's one thing, playing right close to the fret. But the other thing is most people will find that barring is easy until they have to like play an inner string here. So like the 3rd string or the 4th string gives them trouble and it buzzes a lot. So we're going to talk about how to address that. The way to not address it is to don't just apply pressure to the whole bar. Don't think of your finger as just like a capo or a block of wood that you're just pushing against the strings. Your finger's much more sensitive than that. You can arch your finger in all sorts of ways. Now, some people are going to be able to arch it more, but you can apply pressure to different parts of your finger. If I was to do this showing you visually what I would do, then it would look like this. When I'm playing on the 6th string, it would look like this. And remember, this is just a visual example. This isn't how you do it. But my bar would be applying pressure just on the bass string. If I was playing on the top E string, I would apply pressure just to that. Now, hopefully you can see through the camera, right now my finger is just touching the strings. I'm hoping you can see right now that I'm pushing these two inner strings, these two strings, down into the guitar. And of course it's affecting some of the other strings as well. But I'm applying pressure to one specific part of the bar. Specifically to the 3rd and 4th string. I'm not even applying enough pressure to make these other ones sound. It's just muted because I'm not actually pushing down that part. So I'm applying pressure just to this inner area of my finger. So obviously that requires some subtlety of movement. But what I'm not doing is I'm not just taking the whole thing and just throwing my whole weight on the finger. Now, to some extent, you have to do that when you're playing all the strings. You have to like kind of take your arm, let the weight of your arm just kind of come down into the guitar like this. And that does help, but that's just not all there is to it. If you're trying to get those inner strings to ring out, you need to apply just a little bit of functional tension to that specific area, to those specific 2 strings. So a dysfunctional tension would be applying pressure to the whole thing. Or if you're trying to just create that, just improve those 2 strings, you start pushing hard with all of the fingers, which will just tire your hand out, be very unhealthy, and create a very tense musicality and tense left hand. So instead, I would practice laying your finger on all the strings, but not pushing the strings down to the fret, just laying it on there, which will create no sound. And then as you need the string, apply pressure just to that part. So you can see these ones are still not making any sound because I'm not pushing them. Only the bottom one is. So now I'm applying pressure to the 5th string, now to the 4th string. You can see the other strings are not making sound. 3rd string, always a tricky one. 2nd string, 1st string. Oopsies, I think I did the pattern wrong, but you get the idea is that applying pressure just to those specific areas. And I guess the only other thing I'll mention is that this is not something that will just improve overnight or just by doing this exercise. It's something you have to do over a very long period of time. Because if this is all about accuracy and subtlety of movement, subtlety does not come by snapping your fingers. It's a very long-term thing. So you have to practice it a long time. I've just noticed that a lot of students, that they don't practice their barring at all, and then they come to a piece where that needs a lot of barring, and then they're like, darn, I can't, my barring isn't very good. Why is my barring not good? And I usually say to them, well, are your scales going to be good if you don't practice your scales? You know, are your arpeggios in your pieces going to be good if you're not practicing arpeggios regularly? I mean, you have to practice the techniques that you want to be good at. And you have to maintain that practice over long periods of time. So even if you did practice barring a long time ago, you have to continue to practice it a little bit here and there. Maybe not as much after the initial practice, but certainly have to maintain your technique. So that's why musicians will have like, you know, a good 1 to 2 hour technique routine that they do every single day for their entire lives. So it's not something that's going to come right away, and you have to be very careful in barring that you don't tense your hand out and give yourself tendinitis or something like that. But learn to be subtle with the technique and apply pressure just only where you need it. And release the tension as well when you're not using it. All day because I'm releasing tension. I'm only applying tension to like specific areas of my fingers at a time, which gives the other parts of my finger relaxation. So it's a lot about relaxation and accuracy rather than pressure. So I hope you found that helpful on barring technique, and I'll be doing more videos for all of these exercises. Thanks very much.